please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.
Hello and welcome to Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shireen Bhan. On the show today, we catch up with Naveen Rao, who heads up the Artificial Intelligence Products Group at Intel, to put the spotlight on the tech giant's AI push. Speaking of AI, we bring you the story of a startup in the healthcare space, Spectral Insights, a company that's building affordable solutions for pathology labs and hospitals in India. And finally, catch the story of MyGate, that's revolutionizing security management with its mobile application. First up, let's start with the story of Naveen Rao, who heads up the Artificial Intelligence Products Group at Intel. Now, Naveen is the co-founder of Nirvana Systems and came into the Intel fold in 2014 when the chip maker acquired Nirvana for $600 million. Today, based on Nirvana's neuromorphic or brain-like technology, Intel has developed a new family of chips called neural network processing chips, which the company believes will change the way businesses manage their AI capabilities and build custom deep learning software. We caught up with Naveen to find out what Intel's AI product group is doing in the autonomous cars space, drone technology, and healthcare. Let's take a look.
My lab actually did what we call neural prosthetics. We would implant neural electrodes into brains of humans, paralyzed humans, and actually pick up the signals of what they want to do, movement intent, and decode those signals with computer algorithms, machine learning, to then drive a robotic arm, for instance. Okay. And so you can see there's actually a very clear overlap between understanding computational concepts in the brain to the mathematical modeling of how you can extract information. And so through that process, looking at it from the lens of a computer architect, I actually saw there's some concepts in the brain that we don't really exploit in computers today. The way we represent information is highly diffuse and noisy within neural systems. Also, the standard paradigm of how we do computing in a CPU is more about executing instructions that do arithmetic and move information. That's not how brains work at all. It's highly distributed and parallel. So we actually saw there's an opportunity to take some of those concepts and put them into an engineered system like silicon and build something completely new. And that's really what the NNP is about.
What would have happened if the Intel acquisition hypothetically had not happened? Where would Nirvana Systems be? Would it have been easy for you to take the product that you were building to market? And therefore, as an entrepreneur, what merit did you see in actually becoming a part of the larger Intel ecosystem to actually see your product perhaps go to market?
So to answer the first question, it would have been easy? No, it would have been very difficult. Entering the market as a platform or as a computing paradigm or a chip, those are extremely difficult areas to get into. There's a lot of go-to-market channels that you need and things like that. I think we would have been very quickly moving and things like this, and we could have raised enough money given the environment today to make it successful. But there's a lot of risk, right? And being part of Intel allows us to leverage many technologies that we can bring, all of the silicon engineering aspects, the software and scale partners, going through companies like Dell and HP and Lenovo, as well as all cloud service providers. That provides a channel that we just could not get access to before. But it was not ever discussed internally that we wanted to sell the company. We were building the company to be its own standalone entity. In fact, the business model was different as a startup versus being as part of Intel. We were more of a platform as a service. And we're building the chip and the software technology as the best back end for that platform as a service.
Why Intel? So even back in 2016, when you were acquired by them, they were clearly the laggard or perceived as the laggard. They missed the mobile computing bus. It looked or seemed like they'd missed the bus on AI as well because of the work that NVIDIA was doing, the work that Google had already started doing with their systems, what even a company like Huawei had already developed, and we've seen it roll out in the last year as well in terms of chipsets that enable the sort of deep learning and neural network processing. So why Intel?
So there's a few reasons. Intel's business is ultimately about selling computation. It still is by far the biggest purveyor of computation in the world. The form of computation has shifted now. AI is becoming a larger and larger part of it. And I think to say a laggard is actually not quite fair. Most AI was still being done, most machine learning was still being done on CPUs. In fact, it still is. The inference side of it is actually being done on CPUs vast majority of the time, 95% of the time.
Okay.
So I think to say like they're a laggard maybe is more about on the leading edge of where things may be going. And so
but you have to be on the leading edge, correct, don't you, to be relevant?
Right, and so I think that's where there was a good complementary fit. What we were doing at Nirvana was leading edge. In fact, it's even still leading edge against things like GPUs. It wasn't that we were just part of another collective, we were actually an intrinsic part of the forward progress of computation. So to me, getting the technology out, this was the way to do it.
What is the wider vision for what the AI products group is going to do at Intel? And you're leading that effort.
Part of our group is really about enabling AI across different Intel platforms. So for instance, CPUs were considered not viable for this space. It turns out it's actually a software problem. They just weren't optimized for it. We're within 2x or so of a GPU today with our software. So even on a standard CPU, you can actually accomplish quite a lot. And that has a lot of value because most companies have vast resources of CPUs. Not everybody needs an NMP. Until you've demonstrated how you're going to use AI to improve your business, you probably just want to run on something that's more general purpose. So I equate it to, if you're going to race a car, you don't necessarily want to step into a Ferrari first thing. You want to learn on something a little bit slower and figure out if you're really interested in this or not.
Let's talk about some of the interesting applications for neural networks and therefore for Nirvana, right? If I've understood correctly, a lot of the self-driving autonomous cars, that's buzzy as well, both in the Valley as well as in the rest of the world. So let's talk about that. Presently, using a lot of the NVIDIA technology, as well as some of the technology that Google has developed in-house as well. Is that a sort of application for Nirvana that we might see at all in the autonomous car driving space, or not at all? What are some of the other interesting areas where we might see application? Is it in healthcare? Is it in education, where your systems might actually be used to do the next level of cutting edge, either research or consumer application?
So let me talk about the second part in a moment. But the first part, autonomous driving, I wish I could tell you the answer is yes, but I can't give you more details than that.
All right. So that's a story for us to follow up on. Thanks for that, nonetheless.
But obviously we've acquired Mobileye, which is actually the leader. NVIDIA talks a lot. They're very good at talking about where they're trying to go. But the reality is, if you're looking at real driver assistance systems today, the vast majority is Mobileye.
All right. So to wind down this conversation, Naveen, let's talk about plans that you have in particular for your R&D group here in India. I believe it's 90 strong. They sit out of Bangalore. What do you hope to achieve with that group? Also, partnerships that you're looking to build out for the products that you have under the Intel Nirvana line, so to speak, applications that we might see with governments or with large enterprises. Talk us through some of your India plans over the next year or so. And I believe it's your first visit to India in 17 years.
In 21 years.
Yeah.
My own particular group is growing extremely quickly. In the last 6 months, we've gone from 0 to 90, and I don't see us slowing down. The reason being is that there's a very deep pool of talent. Personally, I've seen very mature talent from the silicon engineering side, from a hardware design and software stack. And so my group here is an engineering group, and some of the best people in the world in high performance computing. So I've been extremely impressed with the talent. In terms of how we're engaging with the ecosystem here, I'm still learning this. There's a whole set of partners that we have to learn how to solve their problems and work with them. TCS, Tata Consulting Services, things like this are partners of Intel already, but now they're all moving into the new AI space as well. And so we want to be their partners to bring them the technology they need to solve their customers' problems. So this is something we're starting now, and we're going very big with. In addition to that, Intel has actually been working with the government of India to drive new initiatives like gathering data sets and for autonomous driving. Autonomous driving in the US, very different than in India, right?
Yeah.
as one can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't think we have actually gathered data sets that are representative of countries.
Of countries like India.
And actually the vast majority of the world is more like this than it is like the US. So driving on nice, neat highways with lines is one thing, but actually driving in a kind of chaotic environment is very different. And so we're, in Karnataka, we're actually the only company that's allowed by the government to gather this kind of data.
Well, that was Naveen Rao from Intel, and we continue to focus on AI and IoT on the other side of this break. When we return, we bring you the story of Bangalore-based Spectral Insights that's building affordable solutions for pathology labs and hospitals in India. We'll tell you how, so stay tuned.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.
Welcome back. You're watching Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. Now, one of the sectors where India is throwing up a lot of startups using AI and IoT is healthcare. Bangalore-based Spectral Insights is one such company. Co-founded by Prashant Perugapalli, Dipankar Das, Sumit Nath, Raghubansh Gupta and Suhash Gerald in 2016, this startup is building out hardware and software solutions for pathology labs and hospitals eventually to improve diagnosis. Having bootstrapped so far, Spectral Insight says the future is all about using AI to make the right decisions on what to scan, which data to collect and analyze even before a pathologist opens the file on their system. So let's take a look at this futuristic story.
The story of Spectral Insights started about almost 5 years ago, actually. Most of us co-founders had come together at a previous organization that we were all part of called IMEC. It's a very renowned organization from Belgium, and we were essentially looking at various opportunities of applying what is called hyperspectral imaging. It's a modality within imaging which is more advanced than normal camera, RGB cameras. We were applying this kind of imaging techniques towards a variety of problems, looking at where there could be a differentiation or a value that could be gained. We had realized that there is an interesting use case within pathology which has been sort of lying unserved.
And so the team began working towards building digital microscopes and claimed that while setting up, they found there were no more than 2 systems across India that could take a biopsy slide and convert it into a digital image. After having zeroed down on pathology, the team then got together to chart their own destiny. Today they offer a full suite which of course includes digital microscopes as well as other tools to count cells, tumor boundaries to detect cancer. Essentially, the Spectral Insights solution can reduce the turnaround rate, which is the time between the specimen receipt by the laboratory to issuing the final pathologist report.
Turnaround times is one of the largest elements that differentiates one pathology lab to the other. And the element of then economics as to what am I paying for achieving this added turnaround or a lower turnaround time, and how much am I going to actually be able to utilize this equipment? Would it run 15 hours a day? Would it run 20 hours a day? Would it need a technician to sit next to it and run it as well? So fundamentally, the economics determine the adoption of the technology more so in the Indian space than how it is driven. The factors are different when it comes from the US or Europe. There's insurance that drives things back in US or Europe.
Venturing into a space that is largely dominated by major international players such as Leica Camera AG, Philips Healthcare and Roche that charge anywhere between 2.5 crores to 8 crore rupees for their systems, the team realized that if they get into the business of building products that suit the Indian market, affordability will play a vital role. In fact, they had to cut costs to 1/10 of their global competitors. So the firm's 14-member team started by developing one piece of hardware that can be repurposed and is capable of running multiple digital software modules on it.
To achieve that at an affordable price point, we had to do a tremendous amount of software hardware co-design We have built a pretty innovative spectral camera, which is by far one of the I would consider probably one of the lowest cost implementations in the world of how to build a hyperspectral camera. And we use that in addition to standard RGB camera images, which everyone normally uses for any of the analysis, in order to build better analytics. So what we are able to do is to bring in a third dimension of data beyond XY. We have a Z-plane data. And this is where we have filed intellectual property rights, we have filed US patents and Indian patent applications. And we expect that this would be a bigger barrier for someone to circumvent.
While the team has surpassed teething troubles, Spectral Insights has identified 3 types of customers: preclinical and drug research companies involved in contract research studies and drug development, decentralized pathology labs, and lastly, multi-speciality hospitals. The team has chalked out 2 models of revenue for these customers. One where they sell the entire system along with the software with subsequent license updates to continuously eke out more from the system. The second is a subscription model for a standard lease period with a certain base capability and further upgrades with analytical models for decision support. Going forward, the team is targeting to digitize over 4,000 labs across India, and having recently raised a pre-series A from Dr. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw and Dr. Ranjan Pai, the team wants to expand their foothold to Southeast Asia, Africa, South America, and even the more developed European market. After all, who doesn't want to combat cost pressures?
Well, here's wishing the team at Spectral Insights the very best, and welcome to the Young Turks community. With that, it is time for another break here on the show. But on the other side, catch the story of MyGate, a company that's revolutionizing security management via its mobile app.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.
Welcome back. You're watching Young Turks, India's longest-running show on startups and entrepreneurship. Now, ex-Indian Air Force pilot, recipient of the Shaurya Chakra and serial entrepreneur Vijay Arisetti is not your run-of-the-mill CEO. He has evacuated hundreds of people from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands during the 2004 tsunami, managed security operations for the Air Force and flown VIPs like APJ Abdul Kalam during his time with the Indian Air Force. However, due to a career-ending shoulder injury, he left the Air Force and began working in the corporate sector. Having worked with Goldman Sachs and been a founding partner at Pink Cabs in 2011 and Kitchen Foods in 2014, Vijay decided that it was time to try something new. He came up with an idea that would revolutionize the security management space in India. He and his team created a mobile-based application that provides convenient and super security services, better than most offered by most residential communities. Here's a look at his story.
Founded in 2016 by a group of highly accomplished professionals with careers in the armed forces, Google and Goldman Sachs, Bangalore-based MyGate is shaking things up in the security management space. Using simple technology based on smartphone app permissions, they have been able to streamline security services at the front gate, enabling residents to have real-time information regarding all the activities that might impact safety and security in their apartment complexes. How does MyGate work? Well, for starters, it's all app-based. There's no deployment of any expensive hardware like RFID systems and so on. Residents can input information regarding their staff or deliveries for the day, or even visitors that are expected. When these folk come calling, all the guard has to do is verify the same on the app and either allow entry or seek clarifications. Residents are also simultaneously alerted regarding their visitors.
We looked at the MyGate data and we got a very optimal solution for the vendor attendance.
The intercom solution is a really handy option whenever there's a visitor visiting or a delivery being happen. You first get the in-app notification, so I have it, my wife has it. So if I'm busy, she can approve it, and she's busy, I can approve it. If both of us don't, the voice call helps.
In this one-of-a-kind service, security guards are central to their product. Instead of replacing the security guard with automated systems, MyGate focuses on enhancing their potential.
we have figured out that most of these people staying in gated communities, both husband wife go to work, and they're very much paranoid about their child's safety while they are at work. So we have got features around how to make sure that when a child is going out of the community, escorted or unescorted, a permission is sought by the parents wherever they are, and thereafter these people are let outside, right? So that's how the residents get benefited.
And perhaps Vijay and his team have been able to bring in ease of operations both for security guards and the administration due to their own unique experiences.
While flying this VVIPs of the country, right, I very clearly understood what are the security protocols that are being followed by these NSGs and SPGs of the world, and how these people are taken care in terms of safety and security. We try to get most of the elements into our security product and try to give that kind of service to these gated communities. So my experience in the Air Force in terms of managing multiple clients or multiple places where these disaster relief operations used to go through, and we had to go to a completely unstructured environment where entire administration of the district or the entire civic amenities that are available in the that particular place are completely destroyed, and we had to go there, create a structure, and then start the relief operations, right? So very early on in my career, I was exposed to working under unstructured environment and creating a structure and taking the relief operations forward, right? So I think these are the experiences that while I was at Air Force helped me to get that back to the startup environment.
Having worked in a SaaS model, the MyGate solution can be deployed in apartment complexes in less than a week, and this has meant since its launch in 2016, MyGate has established itself in large residential communities like Brigade, Prestige and Shobha, and are now rapidly expanding into Pune and Hyderabad as well. Having raised $2.5 million from Bangalore-based early-stage VC Prime Venture Partners, MyGate is focused on getting more residential communities onto its service, while also seeking customers in the commercial real estate space, factories and even schools.
Well, here's wishing the team at MyGate the very best with your future plans. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. Tell us what you thought of our show by writing into us, youngturks@nw18.com. You can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Our handle is @CNBC Young Turks. Till next time, from all of us here on the team, goodbye and many thanks for watching.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.